Good morning. This is Dr. Mayorga, and I hope that you're doing well with this weather that we're having in Texas and across the nation. It it's not as bad as I thought, or many people thought it would be. I do remember the one that we had a couple of years ago. I actually wasn't living here in Texas. I was in living in Tennessee, and while I was in Tennessee, the storms were occurring down here. And then once they stopped, I came down here to visit, and the storms were up in Nashville. And so, inadvertently, because of my traveling, I ended up missing everything. I didn't get to experience the severity of the storm with the ice and the snow and the lack of water and all of that in Texas. And then being down here, I missed all of that when I was living in Nashville. But I hope that everybody's got light and water and food. And by Sunday, everything will move out and we'll just be back to what I call Texas normal. With that said, I have an interesting topic that I would like to share with you. I learned something a couple of weeks ago, and I was listening to another podcast, and this person uh, whose name is John Delony. He does work with, he's a counselor, educator, and I think he's done a lot of marriage and family work. And so he works a lot with couples, and that's very interesting for me. So I try to listen to his podcast. He's also part of the Dave Ramsey organization, which is another person that I like to listen to because lots of great suggestions about how to get on budget and save your money and get out of debt and things like that. And again, I run across a lot of people that are living off of debt and just don't know what to do. But one of the things that Mr. Devoni or Deloney said, I should say, was that the behavior is a language. And I know that, but when I heard it put that way, I thought, man, that is so true. And it's really made me think, and I thought, how many people recognize that behavior is a language, that it's a type of nonverbal communication? And this can be applicable across your life anywhere. Your child comes in from school and they slam things on the floor. That's a language. Their behavior is telling you something. But we generally don't listen for really what they're trying to say to us. We either jump to conclusions or we get angry, we scold, we get into the, you know, uh, fix it mode, trying to tell me what's going on. But I think it's important that you should think about a couple of things, especially in relationships, whether it be husband, wife, 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 husband, husband, uh, child to parent, parent to child, co-workers, in your area of work, with friends, across the board. I've I can give you a lot of examples where you don't see anyone for a while, and then when they see you, oh, they gush over you. I miss you so much. You know, how you doing? And they live in the same town, and they never pick up the phone to call you. Never send you a text to find out how you're doing. Their behavior is telling you something. The issue is that we really don't want to hear what they're saying to us through their behavior. As goes along with couples. Your husband or wife doesn't come home after work. They don't call you. They show up late, and no matter what you ask or what you try, you keep thinking it's your fault. You never get the answer. Well, their behavior is telling you something that they can't communicate to you verbally, so they'll do it non-verbally, and they'll keep doing it and keep doing it, and we tend to disregard it. Okay? And the question we might need to ask ourselves is, how come we're not listening to the behavior? There's a lot of reasons for that. One of them is fear. Fear of what my gut is telling me is really going on. Fear that I'm going to open up the conversation and what I believe is going on is going to be true. And then what do I do? Facing the reality of the situation by stating that their behavior is telling you something is very scary, especially if in a marital relationship where maybe this has been going on for such a long time. You already know that there's a big problem, but if you ignore the behavior or try to justify the behavior or excuse the behavior, then you don't have to make that really hard decision of determining whether the relationship is over, whether it's worth saving, uh, whether you're going to have to break up the family. So there's a lot of things. So um, this happens all the time. I've had people come to me and talk about a husband, a child, a sibling, a mother, a father, and they've been at it for 20 years, trying to change the situation. And when you ask them what is their behavior trying to tell you, that stumps them because they've never looked at it that way. They've taken on ownership of that other person's behavior and they're trying to figure out what they're doing wrong. And then their goal is to fix it or to make it better. But being able to listen to what the behavior is telling you requires for you to sit down and think of this from a realistic perspective and be quiet enough to hear what is being told to you non-verbally. I had a situation with someone just yesterday. This person had been trying to create some kind of a relationship within the family members that was gone. It had disappeared. It had been destroyed like 20 years ago. And yet there was this constant, I've got to keep trying, without recognizing that they didn't want to have anything to do with it. They were satisfied with not having a relationship. And when we discussed it from that perspective, this person just, it it tends to floor you when you have this aha moment of, oh my gosh, if my husband or my wife is not allowing me to ask them where they've been on a Saturday, or they have two phones and I'm only allowed to look at one phone, or we can't really talk about finances, but our finances are in a mess, and my partner's always showing up with a new toy. But I just don't want to go there because I've taken on that responsibility of it must be me. So therefore, I keep trying to fix myself. And they never change their language of their behavior. They've told you a long time ago that you're not that important, that they're not going to change their behavior, that they're going to keep doing what they're doing. So part of it is asking ourselves these really hard questions. What's my reason for not being able to listen to the behavior that's telling me something that's the truth? And I've been using a lot of energy trying to figure out what the truth is or what's the problem, but I've never wanted to really address the behavior. Sit down. The second another question is, what's our reason for constantly dismissing the behavior? You ever talk to somebody and they come and tell you a problem, and then you begin to say, well, you know, what about this? And they start with the round around. I call it a round around, where they begin to make excuses for the person. They'll say things like, but they're really a good person, but they really do try very hard. And when we as therapists, when we ask the really hard questions, those questions that jar the client, they become silent. And then if they have the courage and the ability to say, yeah, that's really true, then that's when the healing process and the change in their lives begins, because now they can't hide it. See, we hide a lot from ourselves by using that justification. Or I feel sorry for them, or I just have to try. I have to try harder. Now that's really interesting. How somebody's behavior is telling me they don't want to have anything to do with me, but I have to try harder. Where in the world did I ever begin to think that I had the ability to change that behavior that they've been doing for 10 years and disregarding how I feel about it? But I think those are things that we need to examine. How come I think I have to try harder and disregard the language of the behavior and believe that somehow I have the power and control to change them if I just be nicer, quieter, gentler, give them a lot of opportunities. And I've done a lot of work with people that are married couples, and they've already the relationship's lost, it's gone. Yeah, but one person believes that it's still there, but the language, the behavior of the language that the spouse or partner has engaged in for a long period of time is really saying to that person, I'm out. I've been out for a long time. I'm just sticking around because it's convenient. You do everything for me, or you don't hassle me, or you're afraid to, ask me the direct questions, or I can continue to do whatever I want to do, and it's no skin off my nose. So I would like to challenge everybody who decides to look at this video. Are you aware of this nonverbal language that behavior of people are telling you? Who in your family? Are you engaging in that? Are you telling somebody in your circle of family or life environment or work environment, are you telling them something with your behavior in a nonverbal way that you would never tell them verbally? And a lot of times, the verbal communication is what needs to occur, but people are so afraid to really sit down and have that truthful conversation. And then again, also look at your environment and find out, hmm, I'll give you, it's called disclosure, but I've had many, I know that's not true. I haven't had many friends. I've had many acquaintances. And I have learned that their language has given me messages. Sometimes I pick up on it and I do what I need to do for myself, but I can be honest and say that I've gone a long time wondering how come they're doing what they're doing, never realizing that it's a message that they're giving me. I'm just not picking up on it. Now the questions are how come I don't or won't or can't pick up the message that is being given to me. So that's my little spill for today. So I'd like to leave you with that. Behavior is a language, and it's a type of nonverbal communication. And you need to think about what is the behavior trying to tell you, and step back a little bit and examine it. Don't jump right in and start yelling and screaming and telling, well, I think you're trying to, no, it's all going to just implode. Take your time, because if this has been going on for a long time, you have known it. You've not wanted to probably face it. That's the hardest part about um, growth, personal growth, is facing what's been going on. Okay? And how come you're not listening to it? And then what kind of excuses have we've been using so that we don't have to hear it? And once you decide, well, I really want to hear it, I really want to learn, then do the work to recognize that it's going to change the dynamics, and there's going to be some hard things that you're going to have to deal with. For example, a relationship that's really never been there. Acknowledge that and be able to let it go, or decide, let's say it's two people, decide together that it's time to build something new. Okay? And again, I want to give credit to David Delony, who in his podcast that I've been watching for quite a while, I thought, man, that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to share that with the community, with my clients, with other people that I know, because it's it's very valuable. And so, may you have a good day. May you stay warm. May this weather give us the rain that we need, and then get some sunshine sometime next week. Thank you.